Hi, I'm Stephen Garvey, founder, leader of National Citizens Alliance of Canada, NCA. Thank you for joining me here tonight. We're going to be talking about Canadians first and what it means. And we're going to look at a lot of data tonight, just short data, to give you the facts so you can understand the importance of Canadians first. And tonight's presentation is in build-up. We're going to be in the Maritimes next week, all week doing events on the theme of Canadians First. So the first thing I'm going to do is play a video which punctuates the need for the culture of Canadians First. And this doesn't mean we don't care about other people. What it means is Canadians First. When it comes to the government, when it comes to our own mentality, that we need to look after our house first, our own backyard first, before helping other people. This is just common sense. The government, theoretically, at least supposed to be in service of the people. They're supposed to be serving the people. The bureaucrats are supposed to be serving the people. It's not supposed to be the other way around. They're not supposed to be serving people in other countries, other institutions like the UN. Everything is upside down in Canada. And here's this video. This was from May, but this is a young Canadian, 26 years old, living on the street. He's been there for 6 years, and let's hope he's off the street. But this punctuates the need to help our people. Stephen? Rob, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. This is Jake here.
My man.
So tell me how life's been.
It's been difficult. I don't have the proper identification to get on welfare. I'm here panhandling right now. This is my only source of income. The government gives me absolutely no funding whatsoever. Because I didn't live at Tent City, I didn't get into the subsidized housing. People that have been homeless and living at Tent City less than 2 months, say a month, they got into the subsidized housing at Labio Road and at Terminal. I've been homeless almost 6 years, yet I was overlooked.
So this is Rob. This is only one of the homeless in Canada. There's thousands and thousands of homeless. There's between 3,000 to 5,000 homeless veterans. Rob here, he's 26 years old. He's been on the street for 6 years. He's fallen through the cracks. His only source of income is panhandling. This is a tragedy. This is an absolute tragedy. You could argue this is a national disgrace that we have young Canadians like Rob who are at rock bottom on the street, while we have migrants, illegal migrants coming in, refugees coming in, and they're getting our health care, our social programs. They're getting all kinds of handouts, clothes. They're getting access to lawyers. They're getting put up in hotels, etc., etc. This is why we say at NCA, Canadians first. Let's get back to Rob.
I find that hard to believe. It's time for a change. It's time for a change.
So it's been 5-6 years. How have you been treated by these bureaucrats?
Well,
overall,
out of that time period, I've been on welfare for 2 months.
2 months, eh?
2 months.
And why not longer?
Because my identification was stolen, and once you hit rock bottom in this city, it's kind of hard to get off of it. And I haven't been able to get my identification back together so that I can prove I am who I say I am in order to, collect my check.
He's only been on welfare 2 months. If we look at our data, we have migrants coming into Canada, and with the chain migration, and what chain migration is, they're bringing their parents, their grandparents. Well, a lot of these older migrants that are coming in, they're on welfare from 55 to 65 if they have no income. This is a fact. Yet we have people like Rob on the street not getting access to the same programs. Yeah.
Makes things difficult.
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
Port Alberni. I was born in Port Alberni. My parents split when I was 3 years old, and my mom brought me here.
Yeah, it's sad.
The rest is kind of history.
Yeah. We want to do more for you guys, but we got to hear your stories, right?
Exactly.
It's all about communication, dialogue. If we don't know what's wrong, we can't help, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you feel, a big issue in our country, all these migrants are coming in, they're getting first-class treatment,
Yeah.
and then our homeless are just left on the street to fend for themselves.
I find it hard to believe, especially the people that were born here and grew up here. Even the native peoples around here are getting an unfair cut, and it's just not fair.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, he's talking not only about traditional Canadians, but you can add in First Nations into that, are getting an unfair cut. While the government, the mainstream parties, the establishment are catering to people from foreign countries, third world migrants. This is what's going on in Canada. Right now there's a program to infiltrate rural Canada with third world migrants, even though there's massive unemployment problems and the job prospects are not good. And this is being pushed by the federal government and provincial governments. And it doesn't matter what mainstream color. We know Kenny, globalist Kenny in Alberta, he is, in addition to this program of these third world migrants, he's fast tracking 10,000 third world migrants into rural Alberta. And we've had one of our immigration professionals contact us. He's already initiated this, put out invitations. This is a fact. We need to open our eyes to what is going on. What's behind that, you think?
I honestly don't know. I don't know whether that's a BC government thing or more of a national problem. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's national from our standpoint. We're seeing it across the country. It's definitely a national problem. This is stemming from the federal government and provincial governments. And you could argue municipal governments. There is a globalist agenda, which includes sustained mass immigration. 250,000 plus a year. And I'm going to get into the data. We actually came across some more data today. It's unbelievable. But this data here I want to share with you. This is from Canada Population Clock. And this is as of today. And this organization's run through the UN. And Canada's population as of today is 37,269,059. The latest UN estimate is 37,279,811. Right now, according to today, births per day, 1,000 65 births per day in Canada right now. Deaths per day, 771. That means the natural population growth of Canada is 294 positive every day. So there's a myth being perpetuated by the establishment, the mainstream parties and media, that we have a negative population growth and that we need this mass immigration. Well, this data blows that out of the water. Canada is naturally growing in population. Over 100,000 a year. If we factor in migrations, this is mass immigration primarily, 602 per day coming into Canada. Net change per day, 896. So that's 602 plus 294. This is causing almost 330,000 a year in population growth. Yet Canada is growing naturally, as I mentioned. So the question that needs to be asked, why do we need this extra 602 third world migrants coming into the country? Why do we need it when our population is growing naturally? And we're not even encouraging increase larger traditional families, which NCA supports. Do you support the mass immigration? How is it benefiting you? I'm going to get more into that and provide you with data. Let's get back to Rob. Depending on the center you're in, but so what folks are you seeing here homeless? Is it a cross spectrum of a lot of Canadians?
It is. It's majority Caucasian people from about an average age of 30, about 20 to 40 years old. Anybody less than that, they seem to have a place, or anybody older than that, they seem to have some sort of funding to get themselves into a place. It's a lot of people that are around my age. I'm 26.
So there's the tragedy, as Rob shared with us. Most of the homeless are between 20 years old and 40 years old. Right in the prime of their life. Very troubling. And we know the recent data that over 800 million Canadians, a quarter of the population or greater, are struggling to make ends meet. They're in financial trouble. There are around, based on our estimates, 700,000 seniors, Canadian seniors, who are living in poverty or close to poverty. Yet, there's all this foreign aid flowing out of the country. From 2005 to 2015, 56.6 billion flowed out of the country, unaccountable. And we know the 2.37 billion that flowed out of your pockets and into Afghanistan was completely wasted on corruption. There was a U.S. report that showed that. What about the rest of the billions? Where is it going? What about the tens of billions every year in corporate subsidies and handouts? Yet we have many seniors struggling. We have our homeless like Rob. Something is not right here. Let's get back to Rob.
End up on the street. You can go from having everything to having nothing. And like I said, once you hit rock bottom in this city, it's really hard to get off.
Yeah. And can you elaborate on what's harder? They're just not connected. They're not.
It's hard to connect the dots when you have no dots to connect.
Yeah.
It's hard to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, brother, great talking to you. So there's Rob sharing the truth. He's at rock bottom. There's many Canadians like that. Absolute rock bottom. Their only source of income, panhandling. We know in Toronto, there's 960,000 Torontonians dependent on food banks. Almost 1 million people in Toronto are dependent on food banks. Between 1980 and 2000, there was a 300% increase in the number of persons living in homeless shelters. And this is in Toronto as well. 300% increase. It's unbelievable, the numbers. And since the 90s, that's when this mass immigration started under Mulroney, and it's just continued every single government thereafter, 250,000 plus. While what's happening on the big scale is that Canada's traditional population, people born here, people who've lived here for generations, they are being replaced by third world migrants. This is a fact. There's a demographic replacement going on. It's called the Great Replacement. This isn't made up. Dr. Kaufman and others estimate by 2100 visible ethnic minorities in Canada, if this immigration insanity continues, will become 80% or more of the population, while Canada's traditional population will be relegated to 20% or less. And when I mean traditional population, I'm talking about European Canadians, First Nations, Inuit, Métis. This is a fact. Thank you. We're going to do more tomorrow, but what's your name again?
Rob.
This is Rob here, and he's a Canadian. He's obviously struggling.
Young man.
We got to do more.
Absolutely.
We got to do more for our Canadians.
Hang in there, Rob.
Will do.
Hang in there, bud.
Very troubling. Rob's only one example. One example. And what do we know? With these newcomers coming in through chain migration, as I mentioned, there's for the parents, grandparents, access to welfare 55 to 65. Once they're 65 plus, if the sponsor withdraws, they go right on into government handouts, CPP, OAS, GIS, up to $26,000 a year annually, without having worked one day in Canada. We're not against immigrants, but we believe in Canadians first. And we believe the mass immigration does not make sense. It's bad for our people. It's bad for our country. We know for a fact that around $40 billion a year we're losing because new immigrants are $40 billion taxation negative, which means they're consuming more services than taxes paid. We know since the 90s, new immigrants, 50% of them live in poverty and off government handouts. Yet we're being flooded with the mass immigration, which is only causing more problems in Canada. It's unbelievable what's going on. I'm sure you have other facts. Share them with us. But this is unbelievable. I'm going to share this because we put this up. There's a myth that's perpetuated by the mainstream parties, federal government, mainstream media, that we need the mass immigration to deal with the aging population. So we looked into this at NCA, and we came up with some pretty unbelievable numbers. First off, you need to know that only 16.9% of Canadians are 65 plus. This number is the lowest percentage of G7 countries. And it's according to Statistics Canada. That's the lowest number. In Japan, in contrast, for example, 26% of the Japanese population is 65 plus. And we know many seniors are bypassed for jobs despite their incredible experience and talent. 83.1% of Canada's population is under 65 years old. There's a myth. This is just part of the myth, part of this agenda, this globalist agenda, these globalist corporations, these globalists. They are the ones benefiting. The banks, developers, low-income employers, they want more and more people. They want mega globalist cities of millions and millions, while most Canadians are not better off. Higher taxes, lower per capita income, lower quality of life, more crime, more congestion, erosion of cultural identity, heritage, etc., etc., replacement, literally, of the traditional people. These are the facts. So this is what we mean when we talk about Canadians first. We want to be very clear about it. We're going to be holding these events coming up, and we will do them in other parts of the country, but we're going to be doing them in the Maritimes here, in Halifax on June 22nd, Saturday, 2 p.m. Go to our website or Facebook page to get all the details. Sydney on June 25th at 7 p.m. Canadians' first rally. Truro, Nova Scotia on June 27th. St. John, New Brunswick on June 28th, 2 p.m. Quispamsi on June 28th, 7 p.m. And Sussex, June 29th at 3 p.m. That's a Saturday. These events are in our party news. Please share them. And this is all about Canadians first. The numbers are shocking. The mainstream media, the mainstream parties, they don't want you to know these numbers. They're all pushing mass immigration because we think it's the banks controlling them, globalists controlling them, globalist corporations controlling them, developers controlling them, low-income employers. We need to wake up as a country. Thank you. Please share the message.